Hi everyone, this is Gloria Stengel from Scraps of Life blog. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to share with you a new project today. I have created a murder mystery mini with Graphic 45 papers. This is sort of a large mini. It's an 10 inches by 8.5 with a 2.5-inch spine. I think it's a little big to classify as a mini, but because it's a handmade album smaller than 12 by 12, it gets the mini title even if it's a little large. I will tell you before we get started that there is no tutorial for this album, because I was heavily inspired by another album I saw on YouTube by Frances Long at Your Book of Memories, I think is her channel. She created a large fall-themed album that I really liked. I liked the style, I liked some of her choices on the inside, and after I saw her video, I decided to try to recreate that in my own sort of style and with my own papers. So I'm not going to do a tutorial since I did get the idea for this book from Frances's YouTube channel. My book is a little bit different size, and some of the configuration on the inside is different than hers. I did not use a tutorial from her. I just looked at her video and then sort of reverse engineered it in the style that I would normally make a book, but her way of organizing pages and some of her decorating ideas for how she'd made pockets and things like that, I took directly from her project. So I will put the link down below in the description box for Frances's channel so that you can go there and see her book. And I think she sells a tutorial for her book that if you really wanted to make something in this style, you could buy her tutorial and use that. Or if you're very experienced, you could probably look at my video here or her video and engineer a book of your own using your own measurements and things like that. So I just didn't want to have a lot of people asking me when the tutorial was coming, because there is not going to be one. I will try to give you some tips and tricks as we go through this, but as I said, no tutorial. So before we get started at looking at the actual book, I want to show you some of the supplies that you're going to need to make this book. Mystery theme, because there's some other not so nice things that drip when you have murder mystery. So I've used this for some borders, which I'll try to point out to you throughout the second tool that you will need is this corner rounder. I bought this a couple of years ago on Amazon. It's a Japanese product. The name of it is Kadomaru Pro. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I like it because it has 3 different sizes. And almost every corner rounding need that I have will use one of those 3 sizes. I will try to punch something for you so that you can kind of see. The small is just a tiny, little corner, and then the medium, and then the large is probably the one I use the most, because the large corner matches the corners of a Graphic 45 tag. So when you want to put paper on it and just cover the center part of the tag, that corner is the perfect match. So I use that punch a lot. The other thing that you're going to need for the book, if you want to have little thumb tabs on your pockets or on flip pages, the best way to do that is to do a circle punch. This is a 1.5-inch circle punch. You could use a die, but a punch is just easier to handle, and you could do different sizes. I happen to like this size, but I tend to flip it over and then just go halfway in, and I try to get it straight on the side and then punch, and then you'll have this notch. So if you have a pocket, you want to put something in it, or if you have a flip and you want to make sure that people see that it's a flip, it's sort of a thumb hole, I would call it. So a larger circle punch is very handy for that. So you will also need that tool. A few other things that you'll need are some flat decorative items. I use these pearls. You could use a flat back pearl, a brad, a eyelet, anything that's kind of flat. These are enamel dots, and the reason that I recommend these is because if you use Graphic 45 chipboard pieces, just pull one out here, they always have, a lot of them have a hole so that you could use it as a tag, and you could tie some string or something like that. Sometimes this little piece of chipboard that goes in there will fall out and get lost. I don't always like to have a hole. In fact, I kind of wish they wouldn't put holes in them at all, that they would just let me put a hole when I wanted one. At any rate, because of that, I sometimes want to cover that up to hide the hole, and I want something that's relatively flat. So I use these sticky backed pearls most of the time, and I tend to buy white so that I can colorize them. Now, this one is a matte finish so that it's not shiny, and I wanted to have them black, and so I took an alcohol marker and I just colored them. You can see the couple there that I colored. Any kind of alcohol ink will work. I use these Bic Market pens. They're inexpensive. They come in a ton of different colors and several different nib sizes. This is the fine point nib, which is a little big. To me, it's not really fine point, but they call it a fine because the extra fine is this size, very small. So I use the fine point to color things. I don't use my Copic markers for stuff like this because I just don't want to wreck them, and these are so inexpensive and easy to find that I just use the Bic Market. But it is an alcohol ink that you could use, and it will go right over pretty much anything, and once it dries, it stays. It doesn't rub off or anything like that. So that is what I use for decorating just a little bit in my mini books. This book doesn't have a lot of added embellishment, but this is one thing that I did use. So you would need something like that. And then I've used another marker. This is called Adobe Orange. It's sort of a harvesty orange color to colorize some paper, which I will show you when we get to that in the book. And then I use a black brush tip marker to go around the edges of my paper. I don't like the white edge showing, and sometimes black ink is just messy, but a black brush marker, it makes it really easy. If you hold your paper with the good side facing away from you, just rub along the edge and it will color that edge. And the reason you put the good side away is because sometimes when you're doing this, your pen can slip and then you'll have a mark. If the mark is on the back, it doesn't matter. So always hold the paper with your good side facing away from you to prevent that slippage from happening. And you will need black Graphic 45 tags. You'll need 6 of the square and 5 of the regular size. If you have the Graphic 45 dies, you will need the regular tag and gears and the square tag and clock. I show you how to add paper to these without having the dies, so if you don't have them, don't panic about it. Some of my tags I've used the dies and some I haven't. You can mix it up like that if you like, but don't feel like that you have to run out and buy these and add them to your stash if it's cost prohibitive. You can make the project without them. They are very nice to have, I will give you that. And the reason why is because if you want to cover your whole tag, you're going to have to fussy cut around this and then fussy cut around the big grommet. And every time I try to do that, it looks a mess. So I tend not to. In years past, I very rarely did that. I just put paper in the center. So the die is good for covering the whole tag, but again, not necessary. The other thing that I have is I made some templates for myself with standard photo sizes, 4x6, 3.5 square, 3 square, 5 by 3.5, 4 square, and 5 by 7. I use this to kind of decide which pages of my album would have what size photos, and I'll explain more about that when we look at the book. That I really think that sometimes people get stuck with where to put photos and what size photos fit. So I make templates for myself to kind of show myself where a photo might go so I could put a photo mat. So if you want to make some templates out of scrap paper, that would be helpful. Then you will need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 chipboard. I use a heavyweight chipboard, especially for this book because it's a little larger in size. And then you'll need a pack of 25 12 by 12 black sheets of paper. I use an 80-pound smooth. This is a Whirlwind paper product. You can find it online. Just do a search for Whirlwind paper. I buy the smooth black. There are several shades of black. There's one, sometimes it's marketed as midnight and sometimes midnight blue, but it is a black. And but this one is just the black. It's an 80-pound, but it doesn't feel as heavy as other 80-pound papers. So I like to use this for my wrapping my cover and for my pages. Next thing you will need is a stack of paper and some embellishments. So, at any rate, the paper that I've used for this book is Master Detective, which came out in 2017. This is a collection that I've not had a chance to work with before. It passed me by somehow. I purchased it and never used it. I don't think I was with Graphic 45 then, and I just didn't have time or reason to use it, so I just sat in my stash. So now was a really great time to pull it out and give it a whirl. So if you have this collection in your stash, now would be the time to get it out and use it. So you need one of the collections that comes with the double-sided papers. Back when this came out, you only got, I don't think stickers came with it, just the paper. And we're not using stickers at any rate, so it doesn't really matter. So one of the collection packs, and then one of the patterns and solids for Master Detective. And I didn't use all of it. So again, if you don't have other collections to add to it, you would use more of the paper than I have. I did use almost every bit of the full collection, but not of the patterns and solids. I also used the chipboard, a few pieces of that, and I used a few of the tags and pockets. I also used some of the Rare Oddities collection, another collection that this came out in 2015. And I never had a chance to use it for whatever work I was doing then. I used a couple of pieces here and there, but I didn't really have a chance to use this collection. And I really like it, and I felt that its sort of oddities and steampunky kind of vibe went really well with Master Detective. So I used probably half a pad of this in conjunction with Master Detective. I also used the chipboard, and I used the ephemera cards. Since I didn't have Master Detective ephemera cards, I pulled heavily from the Rare Oddities ones. And back when Rare Oddities came out, the patterns and solids were 6x6, so I did use a fair amount of that because the colors matched almost perfectly with Master Detective. Then I pulled Steampunk Spells, which came out in 2013. This is a collection I worked heavily with back when it first came out, but I have a lot of it in my stash, so I pulled it out and I pulled some of the papers from this. Not everything, because I didn't introduce this blue color, but I did use a few of the different sheets and the pages of cut-aparts for the book. I used one sticker from the Steampunk Spells sticker sheet. It's just this border sticker, so you really don't need that. If you have it in your stash, great. If you don't, you could do something else. You wouldn't need to have that. And I used a lot of the 6x6 patterns and solids. This is a brand new one that hasn't been opened. The one that I used is pretty deflated. I used quite a bit of it. And then I pulled Safari Adventure patterns and solids, both the 6x6 and the 12x12, because the greens and the tan and cream matched really well for photo mats. So I pulled that out to use. Again, I have a lot of this in my stash somehow. I'm not exactly sure why. And I'm just not using it up, so I figured I would pull it in with other collections when I had the chance. I used one piece from Happy Haunting. I had originally planned to use a lot of this paper in the project, but the project went in a completely different direction once I got started. So I ended up only using the one sheet that has the clocks. It's a black with spider webs and clocks, and I think 2 sheets come with this pad, and I think I used all but this little bit right here. Happy Haunting is a collection that came out in 2012. You probably can't find this anymore, but if you have it in your stash, lucky you, you could pull it out and use some of it for your project. And then I pulled up Patterns and Solids from Midnight Masquerade because, again, the orange, cream, and purple matched what I was doing with the book, and so I think I used maybe 3 sheets or 4 sheets out of this pad. Again, this is something I have a lot of, and I'm just not using it up, so I've been pulling it to use with other things. So there you have it. That is basically what you're going to need to build this book. Again, there is not a tutorial, although I will go through and tell you a lot of information about it and kind of walk you through each page. What you will need to know how to do is to build a book from scratch with a spine, wrap a spine. You will need to know how to do an accordion style spine attachment for your pages, and there are 4 pages in this, so you will need to build a 4-page spine attachment for the inside of the book. And I think the pages here are 9.5 by 8. The pages are 9.5 by 8, 9.5 tall by 8 wide. And so in this particular book, I made my hinges also 9.5. Hinges are 1/2 inch tall with a 1/2 inch space in between each hinge. A gutter space between each hinge. So as long as you know that and you know how to build a book, you should be fine at building the structure, and then you could make any style of page and pocket configuration you like. And I will walk you through the whole thing, but I'm not going to do a tutorial. Frances has some great information on her website on how she built hers, and you could build hers and decorate like mine, and you wouldn't see too much of a difference. There's some difference in how what I put in my pockets and how I added extra pockets or different flaps and things like that, but you will see a strong resemblance between her project and mine. So if you really truly need a tutorial, I think she has one for sale, and you would be welcome to go there and pick that up for yourself, and then come back and see how to decorate the way that I've decorated mine. Okay, let's take a little look at the book now. I'm going to try really hard to keep this in frame. It's a larger book, and with my phone, I have an older iPhone, so it's sometimes a little hard to keep it in frame and keep it in focus and keep the lighting. So I'm going to try really hard to get this big book filmed for you without it kind of going in and out of focus or getting too dark. So we'll just kind of do our best. But like I said before, the book is 10 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide, and it has a 2.5 inch spine. So you can see it's quite big. It has a lot of stuff in it, and it does have room for expansion. You can see that it's a little slanty, I called it, but because you can once you add your pictures and ephemera and things, it has a little space to get a little bit fatter without being overburdensome on the spine. So I have used the Master Detective signature sheet for the front, and for the spine I'm going to open it up and lay it face down so that you can see that. And the reason I did that with no decoration on the spine is that the signature sheet is a search and find, which I found hilarious. There is a little plaque here that says collected evidence, and there's a whole list of things that you can find. And I did find, with my husband's help, every single thing on the list is here in the spine and cover portion. So it's a little fun thing to do with this book. And the reason that I did that is I felt that it would be really fun to create a project that you could use to document a murder mystery night or party, or a room break event from your family, or something having to do with solving a murder, even getting all together and playing Clue and taking a lot of photos and things, maybe at a vacation spot or something like that. So that was my inspiration behind making this particular theme of book, that I didn't want to make it Halloween themed, but I found this Master Detective Sherlock Holmesy theme to be quite fun, and the search and find signature page was just, to me, hilarious. So the front cover has absolutely no decoration on it. I just did some fussy cutting around some of the edges, which is really cool, but a bad idea because it starts to crinkle and what have you. But I needed to keep this little dude with his violin, so I did it that way, which is giving away one of the things you need to find on the front cover. So again, that was the inspiration behind it, and the book is made with the chipboard wrapped in black cardstock and then assembled. I did not use the same measurements as Frances Long in her project. I did not use her tutorial. I just looked at her video, and I liked the layout of her book, but I did all my own measuring and constructing, and so mine is a different size than hers, slightly, and put together in my own way and all of that. But I think if you like it, you could use her tutorial to create something similar to what I have done. So again, there is no tutorial for this book. That I felt that wouldn't be fair to Frances to do that. So let's get going with the inside. And again, I'll try to keep this all in focus and frame the best I can. So inside the front cover, we have two pockets. We have a skinny pocket and then a larger pocket. In the skinny pocket, there are two tags, a regular size and a square. And this is where the corner rounder comes in with cutting pieces of paper and then rounding the corners so that they fit right on the tag. I know that not everyone can have, does have the dies, so I wanted to show that you could use the tags and put paper on them and have them look nice without having to manually cut around this shape, which every time I've tried to do that, it's horrid. So I either cut a panel or I use the die to cover the full tag because I don't like that bit of fussy cutting around the top. So two tags and then a 4x6 photo mat. And this is where I used that orange pen. These dots were white or cream colored, and I colored every little single dot in with the orange pen. And this is an ephemera card. You could use that as a tuck spot if you wanted, and tuck a photo up under there. And then this big pocket can hold a lot of stuff. You can put pictures or ephemera or programs or whatever you wanted in here. I have put a little piece that uses one of the ephemera cards from Master Detective. This is cut from the paper. I didn't actually have the ephemera cards. By the time I bought this collection, they were out of stock. And then down here is a 4x6 photo mat, and that's, you can tuck a photo, in here like that. And then on the back side is a space for two more photos or journaling. This is where I used a lot of the patterns and solids to show photo mats. I think sometimes people get confused with mini books. They don't know where to put their pictures. So I've started to put photo mats in some of my books to show you that. So then everything just goes right back into the pockets. And then we have a flip page here, a tall skinny one. This has a pocket with a piece of chipboard and one of those hand-colored enamel dots on there. Hopefully you can see that. And then the pocket holds a long tag. You could put photos. Nowadays you can print photos in any kind of size you want. People print photos at home or send them somewhere where they can do custom sizes. So you could print a tall skinny photo or use this for a brochure or whatever you wanted. And on the back I have space for photos or journaling. Little guy doesn't want to go back in there. And then this flips and for another tall skinny space. And then here you have space for a 5x7 photo. And this is where I use that drippy goo punch here as a little border between the border strip and the patterns and solids. I thought that was really cool. I tend to use border strips in areas where I've measured wrong or made a mistake, or there's something is crooked or too much space. So that is my little secret tip, is if you've got some kind of weirdness going on, cutting a border strip and covering it up is a great way to hide any little cutting imperfections or mismeasuring problems. You flip this over, another space for a 5x7, another border strip. I love border strips. These can be cut, you know, each little skinny piece can be cut, or you can use it like I did with several of the pieces all together, however you like. The next page, now there are 4 page sets in this book that have flips and fold outs and stuff. And then there are a couple of these panels that are slipped underneath other panels, I guess you would say, to make flips. When you make a book like this, it's really easy to attach things. You just make a 1/2-inch tab with a fold, and the tab glues down and folds, and then you can have your flap kind of swinging. So this flap is attached underneath here, and then this flap is under here, and the paper just covers up that flap so you never see it. So it's an easy way to construct a book. So the first page of the set is this double triangle pocket, and this is an idea I got from Francis's video, which I thought was really cool. I've done triangle pockets before, but never a second one at the opposite end. I thought it looked really cool. So I added a little punch out and a chipboard to decorate my pockets. And then we have a regular size tag. This is when I use the die to cut the paper to fit the full tag. And then a 4x6 photo mat. And then this comes out, and you have space for an ephemera card. This is a backside of an ephemera card from Rare Oddities, I think, with journaling lines on it, which is awesome. If you're like me and write downhill, having journaling lines is a plus. And the back, space for a photo, and this is another ephemera card, but you could write here or stick a photo or a piece of ephemera, whatever you wanted could be glued onto that, or you could just use it for decoration. And then this slides back in. This all goes back together. And then the next page, we have space for a 5x7, and then a couple of journaling spots, or you could put a photo here. This is the back of a journaling card with some journaling lines. And then this, a space for 5x7. This is where I use that sticker border. And again, I use that because I cut this too narrow, and so I had to splice 2 pieces together, and I wanted to cover the seam, and so I used the sticker. That way I didn't have to waste cutting another piece of paper to the right size. And then the back is another space for a 5x7. Now this page has a flip. There's a magnet here holding this all down, but it's a flip up. There's a journaling card there. This is from Steampunk Spells, and it flips up, space for a photo to tuck under, and then another journaling spot, and then this flips down, space for a photo or journaling, and then this is fussy cut from one of the pages, one of the papers, and it's a tuck spot for a 4x6 photo mat. And then a magnet holds all that in. The magnet is under here, so when it closes, it'll hold this piece in as well as hold these flaps down. And then this is a side pocket here, a large side pocket with 2 square tags. And this holds a 5x7. And then this will hold a 5x7 with space for journaling. Again, 5x7 is space for journaling. And then I used a really cool card from Master Detective. It says "The Victim" on the bottom. I thought that was fun. And just some Patterns and Solids paper for the pocket. A little bit better. It releases some pressure on the spine area here. And then the 2 tags. Here's another one of those long skinny pocket spaces with space for photos. You could make this plain for journaling if you like. And then this opens, and here is a tuck spot. This is a little ephemera piece cut from Steampunk Spells, I think. And then this opens, and there's space for photo to tuck under here, and just some of the cards again for decoration. In the center of that is a pocket, a large pocket to fit a photo. Again, this pocket is big enough that you could add more photos or ephemera, whatever you liked. Now here, this is a tag and pocket that's supposed to fold to fit this little tag, so it's supposed to be small, but I opened it up and created a pocket out of it open because I liked both sides and I didn't want to just show this side or this side when it's folded in half. So I made a big pocket out of it to fit a 4x4 photo mat. And then this is the little card that should have gone in just the half side of it, like that. And then there's a magnet in here to keep that closed. Here's a tuck spot for one of the little ephemera cards. This is Sherlock. He tucks in there. And then there are 2 tags, a regular and a square again. Now this is a crisscross pocket. This is a 4x6 photo mat, and then this is a large photo mat. You could put 2 4x6 photos on there if you wanted. But you can see this crisscross is open all the way here and all the way here. So there's lots of room. If you didn't want to put a lot of photo mats, you could put all kinds of ephemera and programs and invitations or whatever you liked in a big pocket like that. Again, this is another idea I got from Frances. I'm not sure I made my pockets exactly the way she made hers, but she did have a crisscross style pocket in her project. You can see that this book holds a lot. You can fit a lot of photos in here. This back page, I have an ephemera card, but I made a pocket out of it to put journaling cards inside, and then space for a photo. This is a little smaller than 4x6. Probably 3.5x5 will fit in there. And then these just slide in like that. And then this opens. Oops. So there's a tuck spot here. You could put a 4x6 or a 5x7 photo. I've just put a journaling card. And then a pocket here for a square tag and a square photo mat. This holds a 6x6 photo. And then this is really just because I like these cards. This is Dr. Watson and Professor Moriarty. To be had with Master Detective, that's for sure. And then the back will hold a 5x7 photo. I love this gear paper. I think that Sherlock Holmes and steampunk goes really well together. That Victorian-y, steampunky vibe goes with Sherlock Holmes extremely well, which is why I liked mixing the collections that I did. And then here we have a ephemera card. This is a 4x6 card on a little flap. This kind of holds this whole page closed. Once you open it, you have the flap on the back. There's space here for a photo, space for a large photo here. Then this opens with space for a 4x6, or you could make a bigger and do a 5x7. Large photo can fit here, and then I added a journaling strip at the bottom. Then the last page is another of those corner pockets, but this holds a regular size tag, a 4x6, and then this one will hold a 5x7, or you could use it as a tuck spot. This is a journaling card with an icky frog that goes up under there. And then the back side, I cut out another one of those shelves from Rare Oddities and use it as a tuck spot for a journaling card. And I backed the journaling card with just a piece of Pattern and Solid, because the back side of it had something that I didn't like, I think. And so then that tucks in here just like that. And then the inside back cover, we have 2 pockets and a waterfall. So the pocket here holds 2 tags, a large, a regular and a square. And these are used to hold the waterfall from flipping around when the book is in use. Instead of putting I usually put a little strip of paper with a magnet. So instead of doing that, the tags will hold that down. So the pocket is here. We have a flip spot, and then we have, I think, 5x7 photos will fit on each of these pages. That's a lot of photos. And there's big space here. And so then that just closes and our tags fit back in. And then this is a huge pocket on the side. Again, you could put whatever you wanted back here. You wouldn't have to make a photo mat of any kind. You could store more photos or ephemera back here. But I made large photo mats. I think this is big enough for an 8x10 photo, actually. I love the jars of interesting things. So that just tucks back in here. And that is the book. So I hope you enjoyed looking at this. I hope that you will be inspired to make something like this on your own, or to use Frances's tutorial to make her book, which she made a fall themed book in this sort of size and style. And I hope that you will visit me at my blog and visit Graphic 45 on their blog to see all of the things that the team makes. So thanks for watching. I hope that you had fun with me today.